Hailing from the Jersey Shore and raised as athletes, the Airey Bros have always shared a passion for physical culture, athletic performance, and human optimization, always striving to be the strongest versions of themselves, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Along the way, they've met some pretty amazing humans and have had some pretty epic adventures. The intention of Airey Bros Radio is to showcase these amazing people and the impact that they've had on them, and to share tips, tricks, and hacks so that you can win each day, every day.
It was still, people always ask about it or they'll call out on stage, but for the listeners that haven't heard the story, I stole a football jersey from Mike Vanderjagt. He's a kicker for the Colts. Me and my buddy Jeff Dye were doing shows down in Florida, and I'm a huge Bronco fan, and Vanderjagt, it's right when Peyton Manning came to the Broncos, and Vanderjagt had talked shit about him at this Pro Bowl, and I wanted to be friends with Peyton Manning, so in my stupid head, I was like, if we steal something from Vanderjagt's bar, we'll give it to Peyton Manning. He'll like it. It's such a dumbass idea. Too many fireball shots. But then we ended up stealing Vanderjagt's jersey, and then we got in trouble, took it back, stole it again, took it back, had to send it back. So, and he's still mad. Last time me and Jeff did shows in Phoenix, I sent him a text, said, hey, Vandy, it's Jeff and Brandt. We're sorry about stealing your jersey and bringing it back and then steal it again. But we want to make up. We would like to make up, if you don't mind. Like, we'll buy you some drinks, leave you tickets to our show. And he wrote back like 20 seconds. As soon as he got it, just wrote back, fuck you. And that was it. I was like, all right, I guess we're never going to mend this relationship.
What up, y'all? This is Airey Bros Radio. It's your boy, Rich Airey, a.k.a. the 100-Mile Dick. As always, my dance partner, the Prince of 1512. What up, Prince?
You. What up, Richie Rich? How you living, dog?
Better than most. Living the dream.
Got a pretty good podcast to boast today, huh?
We sure do. Coming in on episode number 23 is stand-up comedian Brandt Tobler. We had Brandt in studio. There's a couple inside jokes that we got in here, but that's going to be up to you to go find out and listen on the Crab Feast.
Yeah, definitely go and dive into the Crab Feast. Check out the episodes that Brandt has been on the Crab Feast. There's a lot of insight that you'll get from that. Coming into this podcast, I'm not saying you need to listen to all those, but you need to listen to all those. It's just going to... You're going to laugh more, you're going to understand more, and then you're going to realize, wow, these guys got to talk about that stuff with Brandt in studio. So, yeah, go check that out. Go check out Brandt's book, too.
Yep. Free Roll is now available wherever you buy your books, be it at a brick and mortar or through Audible or audiobooks. You can get Free Roll. And also we're going to link in there Brandt's story that was featured on Comedy Central, This Is Not Happening, and you'll find out why we started off the episode by giving Brandt a large mango Jamba Juice.
Yeah, a lot of funny things. This one's a special one. We came prepared, we came correct, and so did Brandt. So you guys are going to enjoy this one, I promise.
Yeah, it was a great episode, and just super stoked to have Brandt in. We're big fans of him and his comedy. And his stories are amazing, and through the powers of social media, we got him here in studio, and we hope that you enjoyed this episode as much as we did sitting down and having a conversation with Brandt. You got anything else, Jim?
Man, make sure you're not driving because you might laugh too hard, you might crash your car, so just use caution while listening to this podcast because you're going to laugh, I promise.
Yeah, let's get into it. Here is episode 23 with comedian Brandt Tobler, Crab Feast Hall of Famer, and the John Gotti of Cheyenne, Wyoming. Sit back, relax, enjoy today's episode of Airey Bros Radio. Much love, namaste, from the boys of 1512.
Yeah.
live in studio with the John Gotti of Cheyenne, Wyoming, Crab Feast Hall of Famer, Brandt Tobler.
What up?
How are you, sir?
That's a great intro.
I've been practicing it.
To show you our appreciation, we did get you a large mango Jamba Juice as well.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, drink at your own accord.
Ooh, that's risky, but that's good.
Dude, so glad to have you.
Thanks for having me, man.
It's
This
the
is
power
perfect.
of social media and just being a longtime fan of the Crab Feast, and got Jimmy into it like almost towards the end. Fortunately, he had a job that allowed him to listen to a lot of podcasts, and I was like, yo, you got to listen to Brandt's podcast. And so
I appreciate it, man. Those guys, the Crab Feast was the best, man. I miss it all the time. I wish they were still doing it, but those guys were so good to me, and just the same thing. I reached out to them, and then I finally got on, and I was like, holy. Am I allowed to cuss?
Yeah.
All right, holy shit! I'm on the Crab Feast. We're at a college. I don't know what kind of rules we had, but all right.
They love us here.
Yeah.
So
We're firing away.
as long as we're not fighting people, they're all right.
Yeah, it must happen, though. You missed that.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Somebody tried to bully you.
We're from Jersey. Someone tried to bully us, and whether you're bigger than us or not, you're not bullying people from New Jersey.
Yeah.
So, and as you may know,
We had to show them the Parkway Pizza side of us.
That's right.
Let's get into it. Tell us about Parkway Pizza.
So Parkway Pizza was my first job, and these four Italian dudes, they were all brothers, moved to Cheyenne, Wyoming, where I'm from, out of nowhere, and like I always joke that it was witness protection, but I really don't know why they did come there because it doesn't really make any sense. And so then that was my first job, was working for them, and I was just fascinated by them because there's not people, Italian, no one from New Jersey and Wyoming really. So it was a interesting learning experience right from the get-go. And then they ended up getting in trouble for doing New Jersey stuff in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Yeah.
So they got in trouble for selling drugs out of this, which was so ballsy to do, selling drugs like out of a pizza shop in the middle of a mall. So, but I only worked there for about 10 months. But growing up in Wyoming, it was before The Sopranos or anything, and it's what made me really like fall in love with mafia stuff, and just I was so fascinated by them because they just came from such a different world. But they definitely weren't getting bullied for sure.
So that was pre-Sopranos.
Yeah. So I didn't know. So it was crazy to me just being a kid. I was only like, I guess when I got the job I was 17, 18. So I was like, this is like mafia shit. And then, but I didn't really know anything about it. So. And then their little father, they had a small little Italian father. They'd come in every Sunday in these incredible like designer suits, and they'd only speak in Italian. So I was always like, what are they talking about? And I would because I was just like dishwasher, like prep guy in the kitchen. But I became fascinated by them, and I was like, man, I want to be in the mafia so bad.
Are they still in Cheyenne?
They are. I think one of them got in pretty big trouble, and then they moved out of the mall, and then they still. Then the guy, the oldest brother, he got divorced, and then I think his wife took one of the Parkway Pizzas, and then he opened another place. And so I always stop in when I see him, but they don't remember. It was so long ago. I assume people have told them about the stuff in the book, and I mean, I don't know. I never. When I go in there, they don't recognize me, but it's been so long.
They don't have your jersey hanging on the wall like Vandy.
They should. I would have loved it. I mean,
you need to bring them a signed copy.
I know. Next time maybe I'll just ask them because I wasn't really that bad. I didn't talk that bad about him in the book. It was just flattering that that's who I wanted to be. But I've always wondered, and when I come in, I'm always waiting. But the first couple times after the book came out, I went in just curious if they're going to recognize me, but they didn't. And I was like, all right. So maybe I will next time. Or if anybody listening ever goes to Cheyenne, Wyoming, it's called like Estorello or something, but it's still a great pizza, though. Yeah. I'll tell you that.
So the thing, I don't know if you're familiar with what the Parkway is, but Garden State Parkway it's a coastal, but it runs from the northern point in New Jersey all the way to southern. So people are always like, yo, what exit are you from?
Yeah.
And that's how you...
Well, I've always heard that, but I never put it together. That's why they called it Parkway. Yeah. See, that's something in Wyoming, we have one exit, and it's just, we have one area code for the whole state. It's just so different than New Jersey, and I think that's why I was so enamored by them, because they were just so different and cool and just a different level of swagger that we didn't really have in Wyoming. It was all cowboys, and these dudes showed up. So it was, for a first job, it was pretty cool.
Yeah. My first job was in an Italian restaurant too, so in New Jersey, and it was short lived. It was only one summer. I was like, "Fuck this! I'm never working in a restaurant again."
Well, you know what? Their restaurant now, so it was a part pizza parlor, part restaurant. But then last time I went back, they had to close the restaurant side because they couldn't staff it. Because nobody wants to work in a restaurant, I guess, anymore. So they're like, we just can't. We keep the dining room there for private parties or whatever, but we can't staff it. No one wants to work in a restaurant business. I was like,
No.
I never did it, but I've heard it
sucks.
Every comedian I ever talked to is like, man, this shit. A lot of comedians like, you should do it once so you have an idea. But
well, that's one of my topics when I run for presidency. Is that everyone, when they turn the age of 18, either has to go into the military, go into something like the Peace Corps, or they have to work 4 years in service and retail.
Yeah.
And I think the world would be, at least the United States might be a little bit better place of people being a little bit more humble and less entitled.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've been around some people. Growing up in Wyoming, that's what I missed most when I lived in LA. The people are just much better people than, I shouldn't say anywhere else, but better than LA. But you know, when I was in LA, I'd see that sometimes. There's people, because in Wyoming you just don't treat people like that, and they'll call you out on it and be like, "Man, why are you being an asshole to this person? They're just trying to work." But when I lived in LA, I would just be like, "But LA's so different. People weren't real." Part of the reason I left, I wasn't real about. I should have called some people out, but there's other times, like I used to date this girl. She was super rich, and she got everything she wanted her whole life. No, I wish. Well, I don't want to date Peaches, but that was a temporary date. But
yo, it's funny you bring that up because guess who we got?
Oh, you got
Peaches Corey!
Well, I'd be shocked to see her. I was like, I haven't seen you on. I see you online still, but not in real life. But yeah, this girl was just shitty to a stewardess one time. I was like, "Why are you doing this? Like, you don't think it was hot on the plane?" And she was like, "Gonna tell her it's hot." I was like, "You don't think she knows it's hot? This bitch is running up and down the aisle. She's probably hotter than all of us. What do you? I just hate people that fucking complain about shit, especially shit we can't control." So. Yeah. But yeah, I love you guys brought up Peaches. I haven't thought about that name in a while.
Yeah, we put in the work.
I like
it. So as Richie said before, I was working at a hospital and was just deep diving into the crab feast. And definitely, I think the first one I deep dived into was Josh Adam Myers, and I was finishing those up. And Richie's like, "Yo, have you checked out Brandt yet?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "You need to check out Brandt." So I can distinctly remember, and I was changing the garbage bags out in the cafeteria, and you were telling the story about Vandy, and I was like, "This is the greatest thing ever." And I was just enamored, and that story is amazing.
The story, it was still, people always ask about it or they'll call out on stage, but for the listeners that haven't heard the story, I stole a football jersey from Mike Vanderjack. He's a kicker for the Colts. Me and my buddy Jeff Dye were doing shows down in Florida, and I'm a huge Bronco fan, and Vanderjack, it's right when Peyton Manning came to the Broncos, and Vanderjack had talked shit about him at this Pro Bowl, and I wanted to be friends with Peyton Manning, so in my stupid head, I was like, if we steal something from Vanderjack's bar, we'll give it to Peyton Manning. He'll like it. It's such a dumbass idea. Too many fireball shots. But then we ended up stealing Vanderjack's jersey, and then we got in trouble, took it back, stole it again, took it back, had to send it back. So, and he's still mad. Last time me and Jeff did shows in Phoenix, I sent him a text, said, "Hey, Vandy, it's Jeff and Brandt. We're sorry about stealing your jersey and bringing it back and then steal it again. But we want to make up. We would like to make up if you don't mind. Like, we'll buy you some drinks, leave you tickets to our show." And he wrote back like 20 seconds. As soon as he got it, just wrote back, "Fuck you." And that was it. I was like, all right, I guess we're never going to mend this relationship. Damn. But my buddies went and he was signing autographs at a celebrity golf tournament, and my buddies went up and was like, "Hey," and they got his autograph. They're like, "Hey, Jeff Dye and Brandt Tobler, say hello." And he fucking just got up and walked off, and he was done signing autographs. So I guess he's not over it yet.
That's awesome.
Still a little mad at us.
Nerve with him,
yeah,
huh?
I mean, what a dick.